The injuries that victims of sexual abuse suffer go far beyond physical trauma, and it can take years for some of them to come forward.
For many victims seeking justice, it's too late. But I learned several lawmakers are trying to change that.
He's so crazy.
Katie Trout allowed us into her home to speak openly for the first time.
This is not something that you just come out with overnight.
About the sexual abuse she suffered as a teen in a place she trusted. Trout says her family was very involved at Calvary Church, one of Charlotte's largest churches. She joined the church's drama group at 15. She provided these photos to us and shared how James Baker, a church employee who volunteered with the group, paid her attention that turned to abuse.
He's like, here, I'll give you a piggyback ride. I think he was doing that just to make it seem like the time together or any sort of physical contact was not anything that people needed to be questioning.
Within months, she says the abuse began.
He just started sexually abusing me regularly.
She says the abuse frequently happened on the church campus, and she feared being alone with Baker.
The abuse was escalating, and I knew it was just going to keep getting worse.
Trout eventually reported Baker to Charlotte-Mecklenburg police. In 2005, he was convicted of indecent liberty with a minor, served 36 months probation, and is now a registered sex offender. Trout says at the time, she didn't consider taking civil action.
I was just trying to survive and get through that whole year.
After years of therapy, Trout felt ready to fight for justice through a civil case, but it was too late. In North Carolina, adult victims of sexual abuse have 3 years from the event to file a civil lawsuit. If the abuse happened during childhood, the victim has until age 21.
When I go into counseling and I get to pay for my own therapy every week out of pocket, that's really, that's infuriating to me.
It's horrific in nature.
Gaston County Representative John Torbett wants to change that law. He co-sponsored House Bill 37, which would extend the statute of limitations until a victim is 45 years old.
How optimistic are you that this bill will actually become law?
I'm solid. I think there's enough support in both the House and the Senate.
Their soul has been torn apart.
Psychologist Mary Gail Frawley O'Day specializes in trauma. She told me this bill would give many victims more time to acknowledge the abuse and become strong enough for a court battle against their abusers, even against their employers or organizations where it happened.
If they're teachers, if they're priests, if they're Boy Scout leaders, if they're camp counselors, if they're doctors are abusing kids, they better do something about it.
Leaders here at Calvary Church tell me they run background checks on all staff and volunteers who work with children and students. But I found James Baker had no prior convictions. Because of Katie Trout's story, church leaders say they have a heightened sensitivity to the needs of abuse survivors.
Trout says the congregation was never told about her abuse, but at age 34, she says she'll never forget. She still struggles with nightmares and flashbacks, but says this bill gives her hope for herself and all victims.
They need as much time as possible to be able to get themselves to a good place for where they can come forward and do something with their case.
James Baker's attorney tells me Baker accepted responsibility and expressed great remorse. He also said that Baker paid restitution to Katie Trout during the length of his probation, which was 36 months. Right now, the State Judiciary Committee is examining the statute of limitations bill. We'll follow it and we'll let you know if it becomes law.